Welcome to the More to Life podcast. I'm your host, Kate Philpott, and I'm a multi-passionate, big dream enthusiast. Here, we're all about becoming your best self and achieving your biggest dreams. Because your dream life does not only have to exist inside your mind. So, if you're an absolute boss of a woman looking for practical strategies to create your dream life, as well as an abundance of tips and tricks to level up your mindset and become limitless, then this is the podcast for you. So listen along, share a screenshot of the episode on your Instagram stories, and tag me at More to Life Kate, and I would love to shout you out. I'm so excited for you to absolutely up-level whatever part or parts of your life that you want to. It's time to get more out of your life, honey. Well, hello, gorgeous, and welcome back to the More to Life podcast, episode 5. Oh, I'm so excited to share this episode with you because, you're listening to the More to Life podcast, right? You're listening because you want to get more out of your life in some way. Now, the hard truth that not a lot of people like to admit is a lot of these things that we want involve money. And if your version of More to Life means that you want to travel the world, that requires money. If it means you want to do cocktail making classes, that requires money. If your dream is to help your parents retire or buy their dream holiday home, that requires money. And money doesn't deserve to be demonized in the way it so often is. And demonizing it certainly isn't going to attract it into your experience. So this episode is all about creating amazing money habits and building unthinkable wealth. But first, we have our win of the week/day because we're still on our daily episodes. But the win of the episode, we'll say, is actually quite a fun one. So this morning I did a Jane Fonda inspired workout, which was a lot of fun. I have to say, it was like I've never done a Jane Fonda workout, but my understanding is that the whole idea is like you're constantly moving, but also my understanding is that it's not all that intense. Now I could be wrong, so I don't really know. But this was basically like a hit Jane Fonda style. Except the rest periods, if you will, were like you were kind of marching on the spot kind of thing. But I would recommend going to check out MK Fit on YouTube. It's EMK Fit. She does these hip hop videos and they have honestly like changed my fitness world. Especially in the last year when gyms have been closed and like it's a little harder to motivate yourself to work out. And if you're going to do one of the workouts, I would strongly recommend the Jane Fonda one. It was surprisingly fun. Okay, so into our main topic. First of all, where does your income go? Something I really wish was taught in schools is money management. And the thing is, like, even the words money management are just ugly. They just sound very low vibe and not fun at all. And I understand that because that's how I saw it for a very long time. But like everything, as you get better at it, it gets more fun. So I've got some tips for you. Obviously, you've got your expenses, right? And this is a part of the money that keeps you fed, that keeps you in a home, that, all those living expenses. But as you're starting out, I would recommend having a couple different accounts. Some accounts you could have, for example, and obviously this will be different for everybody, but they could be emergency fund, retirement fund, your investment fund could be short-term or long-term investing. You could have a certain percentage of your money go to play and just things that make you feel like a high vibe bitch. You could also have an account that's like working towards your dream home or whatever feels good to you. But let's start off with an emergency fund. So I would recommend having this in some kind of savings account, ideally a high interest savings account, but you want that interest to start becoming compound interest over time. And before you do mad things like leaving your 9 to 5 job or, moving out of your parents' home, those kind of things, like those big steps that could potentially be risky, but also could be the absolute right thing for you. Build this emergency fund up to 6 months of living expenses. So set up a direct debit from your personal account to the emergency fund so that it goes in every single month and you don't even realize it. And then you'll kind of forget about it and you'll go back and be like, oh, this money has just like totted up. It's a very money wise thing to do. And obviously you don't want to be banking on the fact that you have an emergency fund, but you also don't want to take huge risks in life without that safety blanket. So then you have your investment fund. Now, investing isn't just how the rich get richer, but it's how quote unquote regular people get rich. Because the money you have coming in can actually work for you. And everyone's investment styles will be different. And obviously, it will depend on you and what your goal is with your investing. And it'll even be based somewhat on your personality type, you know. Ultimately, for me, I know I want my investments to pay me without me really doing anything. So for me, that'll be things that bring in passive income, such as dividend stocks and real estate income. Personally, I actually put money aside each month for quote unquote short term investing. Basically, what I mean by that is things that I can actually afford now. And then also, I have a separate account for long term investing, which for me is basically a deposit slash down payment for real estate investing in the future, because that will take a little bit more time. But I know that for me, I can buy stocks now. You can spend €1 on stocks if that's all the extra you have. But the idea for me is putting some into it every single month. And I know every time I buy a dividend stock, I give myself a raise. Now, obviously, there's research that goes into like what companies you're going to invest in and all that stuff. But I suppose we can do a different episode on that, because I could probably talk a lot about it, because I've been a bit obsessed with it in the last month or two. Point is, I believe everybody should have their money working for them in some way. If you're new to that sort of thing, dividends are when the company pays you a certain percentage of the share price it's usually every quarter. Some do it every month, but they pay you just to own the stocks, which is pretty cool. And yes, it does take time for that to be a substantial amount of money, but that's why you start sooner rather than later. Okay, next you have your play money or your play account. It's up to you if you want this to be a totally separate account. They say that this is the money you use to totally treat yourself with. Like, what feels really high vibe for you? Maybe you want to buy some clothes, but your normal way of buying clothes is going on to some website. I've got a few in mind right now, but I won't name and shame. Well, it's not really name and shame, because like I think they're quite cool websites and they have nice clothes for the most part. Anyway, that's beside the point. But you know those online retailers that are really cheap, and then they throw like a 70% off code at you, and you just get as much as possible for as little as possible. That could be your way of buying clothes in general, and that's fine. This play money is basically abundance money. What makes you feel like a high vibe bitch? Is it going to be the 10 to 12 items that you got for €100? Or is it going to be the one or two items that you got for €100? Because those are actually like high vibe is what comes to mind. Higher vibe clothes, bad bitch energy clothes, and like when you put that on that you're like, oh yeah, yeah. And obviously I'm just talking about clothes right now. It doesn't have to be just clothes. I mean, it could be shoes or accessories, but it also could be a spa day. It could be getting your hair and nails done, staying in a hotel for a night and treating yourself to a bottle of bubbly, maybe even swimming with dolphins, like that kind of thing. That's basically you living your best life as much as you can right now. And it's going to be a relatively small percentage of your money that goes towards this, obviously, because you don't want to bankrupt yourself, but it is also important for a few reasons. Firstly, let's face it, we don't know how long it's going to take to create our dream reality. And sure, we'll do it as quickly as we can, and we want to create it relatively quickly, but if you wait until you've got your 6 or 7 figure income, or whatever the dream is, to actually spend that money on high vibe activities and high vibe possessions, you could waste several years of your life simply existing. And if you're listening to the More to Life podcast, you clearly don't want that for yourself. Now, it is totally up to you how much money you want to put towards this kind of thing each month. It probably should be a relatively small percentage, but I would also urge you not to ignore it, because your life is happening right now. All right, now we also have give money. This is the money or the gifts that you give to either family, friends, charity, strangers on the street. You get the gist. By practicing giving, we show the universe that we know there is more than enough and that there's always more where that came from. Also, let's be fucking honest here. It feels really damn good to give to somebody else. It's just an amazing, loving, kind, warm, good thing to do. Okay, finally we have retirement. And this could start off at just €10 a month into a retirement fund. Like, you can start small, it's fine. And it's never too early to start because you have the opportunity to build this retirement fund to the point where you can retire on it. And that could happen 10, 15, 20 years earlier than most people do. Like, you could be 40, you could be 35. I mean, I don't know what age you are now listening to this, but that's the truth. You do have the opportunity to retire early if you want. And even if you build up to the point where you can retire early, if you're also working in a field that you love and you're doing your dream job or you have your dream career, you might not even want to retire early, but you do have the option there. Or you could just stop working for 6 months of the year and just travel around the world or around one particular country and just see as much of it as you want. You allow yourself the freedom to do these kinds of things. That's why I think putting money towards a retirement fund is really fucking important, and a lot of young people don't prioritize that at all. Also, know that if you put this into a savings account every single quarter or whatever the time period is for your particular bank or whatever, you'll be paid interest. And if you start early, compound interest, like they'll eventually be paying you interest on the interest they already paid you. Which is just a win-win, really. So doing this over the long term will mean your money grows even more on its own. Great. Happy fucking days. Hey girl, I'm just interrupting this episode for a little sec to tell you about the More to Life Dream Life Creation Planner and Guided Journal. I've created these tools for you so that you can really get clear on what it is you want, when you want it, and to help you put a plan in place so that you will absolutely get those things. It'll bring you through the practical side of things, creating a plan for building your fear-smashing muscle, building sustainable habits, and breaking down your goals into steps that you can actually follow. The Guided Journal is packed full of journal prompts to help you become the strong woman you are on the inside. Both are digital downloads, so you don't have to worry about shipping costs. You can type directly into them, or you also have the option to print them out if that is more inspiring to you. I've left the link for both the Dream Life Creation Planner and Guided Journal in the show notes below. Happy creating! Alright, the next tip I have for good money habits, amazing money habits, if you will, is to have really fun names for your accounts. So even though I've just used words like emergency fund, retirement, and all that, that was just a way for you to understand what I meant. But let's be honest, these names are fucking ugly. They're not very high vibe, they're not very sexy, they're not very fun, and they don't feel abundant in any way. So I would recommend renaming your accounts to things like abundance property if it's real estate, or financial freedom, or safety blanket for emergency fund. Emergency fund is a tough one because at the end of the day it's an emergency fund, but emergency sounds so low vibe and ugly. But I think a good alternative for that would be safety blanket. And for the likes of retirement, you could call that time freedom or something like that, something that feels a lot more liberating than retirement fund. Ugh. And again, you could create another account for something specific, something like your dream home in Spain, or dream mansion in the Hollywood Hills, or red Lamborghini. Whatever it is and whatever you choose to name them, make it feel good. You want to pop over to your bank accounts to have a look at your money and like it. And not feel like, oh god, I have to put more money in my emergency fund. Oh Jesus. Like, that's just ugh. It can become a bit of a dreaded activity, and you want anything to do with your money to be a fun activity. All right, now before I get a bunch of DMs saying, but I don't have enough income or enough money to separate it out in so many ways, or to throw it away on designer shoes, or when I'm struggling to pay my bills, I just want to preface this. The tips in this episode have hopefully given you a fresh perspective on managing your money and all that good stuff. But what I'll also say is this should be the goal. And you don't have to jump with all limbs in front of you first thing. I do think that there is always somewhere you can start. And even if you're just putting €5 towards one of these things each month, or maybe less if that is your current situation, that's absolutely fine. But ultimately, the most crucial element of building wealth is creating multiple income streams. By doing that, you'll be living much more securely, because down the line, even if something happens and you lose one of those income streams, you've still got more. Ideally, several more. So I'll give you a couple of examples, because I don't want you thinking, oh my God, no, now I have to get 2 more jobs and I'm already struggling with the one job. That's not what I mean. So obviously, first of all, one income stream could be a job, but I wouldn't recommend getting more than one job, because your sanity is also important. Number 2 could be starting a business as a side hustle. It doesn't have to take every single waking minute that you have. And this can be product based, it can be service based, or even both. You could start a YouTube channel that can be monetized. You can make music and put it on Spotify, that can be monetized. Write articles online, freelance. There's go on Fiverr and see all of the different things that people pay for. I'm sure there are plenty of things on there that you could do. You could also create a course on Teachable, because again, I'm sure there's something that you know or that you have talent in or something like that that you can guide others in how to do. Another could be dividends from your stocks or real estate, which that might be a bit down the line, and that's okay. Or maybe even different types of investments. Another income stream could be drop shipping. Like, there are so many resources online that teach you from A to Z how to do that and how to make bank doing it. And it's relatively passive as well. Then you also have the likes of affiliate marketing, and do you know what? There's so much more, and I'm not like, if I went and told you all of the different types of passive income or income streams, we'd be here all day. Realistically, you can have as many as you want, and ideally more of them should be passive than not, because, you know, don't run yourself into the ground. If you want to get more out of your life, then working every single waking minute of your day is not gonna be a great way to do that, because your sanity and your peace and your feeling of flow is really fucking important for this. Like, you want to get more out of life, not more stress out of life. Also, yes, a lot of these income streams I've mentioned do start out relatively small, but guess what? As long as you're consistent, they will grow. And that time is passing anyway, so you might as well be building another income stream, even if it's just one more income stream to supplement your income. Because the time is passing anyway, and you've got some rich bitch energy off you, I can feel it. So go make it happen in the physical realm. Okay, so for the quote of the week segment this week, I wanted to do something a little different. I've actually got a bunch of affirmations for you, so repeat after me, ideally out loud. I effortlessly attract unlimited abundance. Every euro I spend comes back to me multiplied. The more fun I have, the more money I make, bitch. My income is constantly increasing. I welcome all sums of money into my life, no matter how big or how small. Yes. Money is attracted to me like I am attracted to Zac Efron in his underwear. Ah, yes. And you know what? Even if you don't like men, we gotta appreciate, right? This is becoming a recurring theme, but it's okay. I'm fine with it. Take a big deep breath, because if you repeat those to yourself every single day, or do you know what, like, starting out when you feel that resistance towards those things, you might even want to say them every hour on the hour. Like, set a little timer on your phone or something for every hour and say those things with meaning. Like, say that like you fucking mean it. You deserve that life, bitch. Alrighty. Okay, so there won't be a Q&A segment in this particular episode because these episodes are all pre-recorded, so I only had a handful of questions to go with. And like, not a lot of people know about the podcast yet because it's not even officially a podcast yet. It's not even out there. But in conclusion to this episode, to create amazing money habits and build your wealth, here's what you're gonna do. Open a few savings accounts, name them some fun fucking things, and set up direct debits from your personal account to those accounts. And I think a lot of the time there's a minimum on it. It's usually like €10, €10 or something. So even if you're in a position where you have to only do one of them, that's all good. But start one of them, and a few months down the line, start another. And then a few months down the line, start another. The ones I'd recommend having would be retirement, aka time freedom, emergency fund, aka safety blanket, because of course you want to give them really fun, sexy, wealthy bitch high vibe names. And I would strongly advise looking into investing as well. So if you want to have extra accounts for things like investing, long-term things that you can't necessarily afford yet, that's perfect. If you want to just start out with putting, I don't know, €30 towards one dividend stock a month, that's cool too. Figure out a way that works for you based on your income right now, but also make sure you do your research. Ultimately, investing means that your money will be working for you and you don't necessarily have to be a slave to your money. Next, you're going to build multiple streams of income. And obviously when you're starting out, just focus on building one extra stream of income. And when you build that up to a decent point, maybe start another one. And like, you can kind of research like, what would work for me? What would work for my personality? It doesn't have to be like a ridiculous grind. There are ways to make money that don't have to feel icky. So if it doesn't feel icky to you, it could be a good way to go. Ideally, the majority of them should be passive income, so you don't actually have to do anything extra to earn it, but you get the gist. Thank you so much for listening to the More to Life podcast. I hope this has been really valuable for you, and I hope that you have the most amazing day. Go ahead and keep effortlessly attracting unlimited abundance into your life. I'll see you in tomorrow's episode, which will be all about gratitude and how to actually make it work for you. See you tomorrow. Mwah! Well, thank you so much for listening to the More to Life podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure being a part of your day. And listen, if anything at all resonated with you or was particularly valuable, you'd be doing me a massive favor by leaving a 5-star review on iTunes and of course, sharing the podcast on your Instagram stories. Make sure to tag me at More to Life Kate and I will repost on my own stories. Don't forget to check out the show notes for all the links and resources. And again, if you want more in-depth, actionable content, feel free to pop over to patreon.com/more to life, which is also linked in the show notes. You'll gain access to exclusive value-packed workshops, motivational audios where I'll absolutely kick your ass into gear, and a lot of other goodies too. I'm so grateful to have you here. See you next time. Mwah!